Can you actually use a podcast to help grow your business and find the people that are best for you? Let's talk about that on this podcast episode today. Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. This show is for you. You've worked so hard for your money, and you're now ready for that money to start working harder for you. You want to become work optional, where you work because you want to, not because you have to, because you have enough passive income coming in to be able to cover all of your expenses and your family's needs. But you're not just doing this so you can get rich. You're doing this because you want to live a rich life. You want that time freedom, and you want the ability to be able to grow and expand your stewardship to bless the lives of those around you, hence creating a ripple effect in people's lives. That is what I'm so excited to be able to do with you here today. I know you guys are binging on these shows. You've been sharing this with other people, and we appreciate it so much. If you ever have questions for us, you ever want to know how to get a hold of us, just go to moneyripples.com. You can not only go deeper down that rabbit hole, but of course, you can always ask us questions there as well. All right, guys. So I'm bringing on Dave Dubeau here today. So Dave and I, we've actually gone back. I was looking back on our emails. We've gone back about 4 years now, on and off, that we've been chatting on each other's podcasts and whatnot. But the big thing that Dave has done is he's been a podcaster since 2012, and he's been in the real estate game. He's actually helped investors raise over $325 million in capital over the years. And so he's done a great and amazing job teaching how real estate investors can leverage things like podcasts to be able to find new investors. But more importantly, even if you're in business, maybe you're somebody who's not in business, but you're looking for ways to create bigger networks, better contacts, podcasting could be the way to go. And I can say that from personal experience too. So excited to be able to bring Dave on the show here today. So Dave, welcome.
Mr. Money Ripples, it's absolutely a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
No, Mr. Money Ripples is my dad. I'm
You're
no,
just Chris Money Ripples. That's great.
That's
Chris,
right.
thanks for having me on your show, Matt. It was great having you on mine. A couple of weeks ago, we talked deep dive into the whole infinite banking thing. You're an absolute expert on that. And yeah, thanks for all you do. Your show is great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, Dave, tell us more about your background. Tell us more about you and who you are.
Yeah, well, I've been in the real estate game since 2003, one way or the other. And the last dozen years or so, Chris, I've been really focused on helping other real estate capital raisers connect with investors and raise private capital for their deal. Mm-hmm. And over the last, I was like everybody. I was trying different things to do that, all the way from paid ads to generate leads for my business, right? My consulting business. So I was trying paid ads. I was trying, live events pre-COVID. That was my number one way of kind of generating business, was traipsing around the country, speaking at real estate investment clubs, doing follow-up 3-day events and all this kind of stuff. COVID put a big kibosh on that. Mm-hmm. Then switched over into online events. That worked really well for the first year or so of COVID. And then, everything kind of starts to dwindle after a while. So I was always looking for ways to kind of, connect with my ideal avatar, if you will. Mm-hmm. And it was I started this podcast in 2018, and I kind of did like everybody does in the podcast world. It was trying to interview the big wigs and create a big audience. And hopefully some of those audience members would figure out that Dave's kind of a smart guy, and hopefully some of them would reach out to me, and hopefully we'd do business. And it was a lot of hoping and not much happening. So I was able to interview some big names and stuff, and that's great, but it wasn't really generating much business for me. And then about 3 years ago, I was listening to a podcast, and a young guy named Jamie Atkinson explained this concept of just skipping to the front of the line. Instead of trying to interview people and build an audience that way, why don't you just go straight to the source and interview the kind of people you'd like as your customers, as your clients? And the light bulb went off. Instead of doing one interview every 2 weeks, I went from doing that to interviewing 10, 15, 20, got up to a point where I went a little crazy. I was doing 30 interviews a week.
Wow.
With my ideal avatar. Now, don't do that. That's a quick trip to burnout. Mm-hmm. But so I've scaled things back. So myself and my business right now, we do 10 to 12 interviews on average per week. And I really focus on attracting my ideal avatar as my client. And for the last 3 years, it's been the number one way that I've been bringing on new clients for my, for lack of a better term, marketing agency. Does that
Yeah,
make sense, Chris?
it does. So when
Yeah.
you say interviews, what do you mean by interviews?
Well, it's kind of like what we're doing right now, right?
Mhm.
An interview is getting somebody, inviting somebody onto your show
Mhm.
that is your ideal client avatar. So in my case, my ideal avatar for my business right now are real estate capital raisers. So real estate syndicators and fund managers and developers and apartment syndicators, these kind of people that are looking to raise private capital. So I
Mm.
invite these kind of folks typically onto my show and interview them and then steer towards the end of the interview. It really is focused all about them. It's about positioning them, shining the spotlight on them, making them look good, feel good, sound good,
Yeah.
right? And creating that relationship. And then towards the end of the conversation, we start talking a little bit about the capital side of things. And I just get an idea of what they're doing and that sort of thing. And then the magic actually happens after the interview ends, Chris. And then that's where you kind of touch base with the person, let them know when it's coming out. And then, oh, by the way, you mentioned you're doing this, this, and this with capital. Is that something you got 100% dialed in, or is there maybe a little room for improvement?
Right.
There's always room for improvement, right? So say,
Right.
hey, well, that's kind of cool. We're doing something interesting with syndicators like you, where we build them a podcast. We fill it up with their ideal accredited investor avatar as their guest. We get them 4 or 5 of these meetings a week, and then we help them convert those conversations, those interviews into capital. Is that something you might be interested in taking a look at? And then, boom, book them into a follow up discovery call after that.
No, it's fascinating when you think about it because, a lot of times, like you said, people try to get a podcast going. They're trying to get like the Grant Cardones of the world onto their
Yeah.
podcast, right? Some big name
Or,
people.
or, or it's all like me, right? Kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. All the focus on you versus the very people you're trying to serve, which is a very different angle. It's not going for the ego stats necessarily. It's really going for, efficiency, right? Like going for really trying to create, you're really trying to create a win for somebody first, even before you try to serve them again by trying to
Mhm.
offer them some additional value, aren't you?
Call it leading with the giving hand, right? Because,
Yeah.
for example, you and I both, Chris, we tend to be working with business owners, right?
Mhm.
So, instead of trying to convince a business owner to jump on a sales call so we can pitch them our stuff right off the get go, why don't we lead with the giving hand first? Let's provide that person with value. And what
Mm,
do most business people value? They value free publicity. They
sure.
value free marketing. They value free exposure. They value the fact that we're going to create some reels and social media content for them from their episode.
Yeah.
That is massive value for them. So it's a lot easier to attract our ideal client or avatar that way versus chasing after them.
So true. Now, I know
Yeah.
you have a book that kind of talks about this too, correct?
I do. And if you're watching this, it's right behind me there. It's called 20 Accredited Investors Book. You can get that at 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. And basically, even though it talks about investors, it walks through the whole process of building a podcast that appeals to your ideal avatar as a guest and as an audience member, and then how to fill that up with your ideal, those people as your guests, then how to convert those people from guests into sales calls and those sales calls into sales. So whether you're in real estate or not, it might be of something of value for you.
Yeah. Now, I want to pivot a little bit because
Yeah.
obviously you've been in real estate. You've been around since 2003. I know we've had some fun discussions about that, because definitely we've had, some similar experiences or, pains and things over the years. Tell us right now, like, well, one, first, are you still doing real estate or have you pivoted more away from it? What are you doing nowadays?
I've pivoted personally away from it because I
Mhm.
suck as an operator, Chris. I'll just be perfectly frank. Like I don't like dealing with tenants and toilets and management and maintenance and
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. I'm a passive investor in a few deals with some clients of mine, but I focus primarily on what I enjoy and what I do best, which is this kind of stuff. I enjoy the marketing side of things. But yeah, I got into real estate in 2003 after living overseas for quite a few years and had to start all over again from scratch back home and did creative, low money down type deals, lease options for a while, and then got into multifamily properties later on.
Right. So you kind of made a pivot like me. You tried to do it yourself at first, and then you said, Man, that's a lot of work
This
and it
this
kind of
sucks.
stinks.
Yeah.
So let's be a passive investor instead, which I know most of our listeners are kind of looking to become more passive investors
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah, no, that
So
makes a lot of sense. So yeah, that's where I'm at with real estate these days, Chris.
yeah. And what I mean, other than the hassle of it, like what are things you've learned becoming a passive investor? If you've been following this podcast, you're probably looking for great ways to create passive income right now, right? Well, we got you covered here with Central Lending. Central Lending specializes in alternative investments that actually are designed to create steady returns and long-term financial security for you and your family. Now, they prioritize transparency. They love, building those strong relationships, giving you that confidence and peace of mind, knowing that you have your money working harder for you, so you don't have to work so hard for that money. You want to learn more how to do that? Go to centrallending.com and check out what they've got today to create your passive income and wealth creation right now.
Oh man, you know what? It really is, it's been said over and over again. Don't get greedy and just focus on the numbers.
Mm,
Focus on the operator. Like, what kind of track record does that person have? How many cycles have they been through?
hmm
What are they like with their communications, not just in the good times, but in the not so good times?
hmm
That's what's really, really important, because it's easy to get seduced by big numbers and big promises, but don't let that greed gland get you too carried away. I've been burned before.
Yeah. Hey, if you've been investing long enough, you've been burned at some point, one way or the
Exactly.
other, right? It's going to
Exactly.
happen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's a
that's
good
that's
point.
big.
Like
It's
I
the
kind of see it
biggest
like you
lesson.
bet on the jockey, not the horse, right?
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I still firmly believe that real estate is a fantastic way to create wealth.
Hmm
It's solid, it's tangible, it's real. I haven't had very much luck with other investments, stocks, bonds, mutual, crypto, that sort of thing. It seems like that can disappear very, very quickly. So
True.
I love real estate for the tangibility of it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
for you personally, I mean, do you feel like that's giving you a lot more freedom? Whether it's time freedom, money freedom, or all the above, or
It's helped. Yeah, it's part. I won't say that it's created full financial freedom for me. I'm
hmm
one of those weird guys, Chris. I actually really enjoy what I do. So
yeah,
I enjoy the business side of things, and that's where my focus is on these days. Yeah,
yeah. That's one thing we talk about on the show. If you heard at the beginning, of course, we talk about becoming work optional, right? Where
exactly.
because I've noticed more and more people don't really want to quote unquote retire, right? Because that seems almost like a bad word. It's like put you out of commission, or something like that.
Well, yeah, especially if you don't like golfing or something like that. It's what the heck you going to do, right? Especially entrepreneurs, we tend not to have very many hobbies. So
Mhm.
yeah, what I am trying to do though is to lead a little bit more of a balanced life, Chris. So
Yeah.
every weekend I'm trying to get outdoors and in the nice weather, going out and kayaking and hiking in the wintertime, going out skiing. And then 3 or 4 times a year, my wife and I like to take a significant trip, usually overseas, and see some of the rest of the world. So we're kind of living the best of both worlds.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it sounds like. So it's that's one thing I think is important too, because we do get some people that get so hyper focused. They got to hit those goals, right? They got to hit that money goal, but then they procrastinate and delay their life.
Well,
Had you
yeah,
ever found
and
yourself doing that at some point?
we get a little bit older, and people start knocking off around you, and then it gives you a different perspective on things. It makes you realize, you know what, this is a finite thing.
Hmm
Money is great, money is important, but it is not the end all be all. Living a life of value that you enjoy, um, to me, that's much more important.
Completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we ask this question on the show all the time. What do you feel, Dave, is your ripple effect, right? Like, what is it you feel like you're here on this planet to leave behind, or even to just to create?
Well, to create, I'm not a big legacy guy, Chris. I mean,
Hmm
everybody talks about legacy. I'm a big fan of history. And if you look back, there are very few people that have left any significant legacy. I mean, most of us don't even know the name of our own great grandparents, kind of thing,
hmm
and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So don't worry too much about leaving legacy, in my opinion, and leaving your kids a bunch of money. And that's, they got to live their own lives and that sort of things. But if
Yeah.
I can make an impact while I'm here and provide value to people and make people's lives better, that brings me joy. And that's, that when you bring value, tends to be how you make income as well. So it's a win-win situation that way.
Well, how do
It's
you
not
feel
very
you bring
woo-woo.
value? Yeah.
What's that?
I said, how do you feel you bring value?
I bring value by providing people with different ways to grow their business. So, for
Mhm.
example, with what we do right now, it's a turnkey system. So, when we work with syndicators and capital raisers, we build them the podcast, we fill their podcast for them with their ideal guests. We do all of the production work behind the scenes for them. All they have to do is show up on Zoom with a smile and a clean shirt and remember to press record. Everything else magically happens in the background for them. So, that is huge value. You know this yourself here in the
Yeah.
podcasting business. Trying to get all that stuff done is a massive hassle. And that's why most podcasters fizzle out after episode 6. So this is a way for people to avoid that. And we've got clients now that are into the 150 plus episodes on their show. And that
Yeah.
wouldn't have happened if we weren't doing all of this work for them.
Yeah. And ultimately, what's that creating for when they're doing that?
Well, it's create. I mean, we look to work with quality operators, so it's creating more opportunities for them to do more deals. It's creating more opportunities for their investors to create passive income, which is what you're all about. It's creating more opportunities for the population in general to have a vital human need, which is shelter, because most of our guys are apartment syndicators, so they're providing workforce housing and
Right.
affordable housing for the population. So it's in my mind, it ripples a long ways out.
Yeah. I'd say that sounds like a ripple effect to me, doesn't it?
I hope so. That's what brings me some satisfaction. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not like you're just trying to leave billions of dollars behind, right? That's not the thing because most of us won't do that anyways. But like you said, it's what can you do to help others even create their own ripple effects too, right? And
Yeah, and I think
definitely,
that's what gives us personal satisfaction, Chris. I know it
yeah.
does for you, like
Oh
helping
yeah.
people. Yeah, sure, there's the financial aspect in it, but I don't remember, when I think back on my decades of experience now,
Hmm.
I don't think about, okay, I made that much money from that guy or that gal. No. When I think back on my favorite clients that I've worked with over the years, it's like, what were they able to do? What was I able to help them to do? What did they accomplish because of what we did together? That's what gives me satisfaction. That's really at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
do you help just more like real estate investors are trying to raise capital? Do you help them with their podcast or do you help other business owners as well?
Right now, we're focused on real estate investors raising capital just because that's the lingo I speak the best.
Yeah.
But again, like this whole concept works for anybody that's in a business where you've got what's quote unquote called a high ticket sale. I'd say something that's worth 5,000 or dollars or more. This would be a worthwhile enterprise for them.
Yeah. That's great. Well,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. You got to check that out, shouldn't we?
I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah.
But I'm biased, Chris.
That's right. Well, and like you said, like these principles work not just for real estate investors. This I know this works personally throughout all industries, all kinds of things. I know some people that literally use the podcast as a platform just so that they can talk to people that they want to learn from, right? Like for
Right.
them, it may not be just trying to do business. They might just say, I just want to learn from somebody. How do I get their ear? Oh, I'll do a podcast. They may not sit down with lunch with me, but if I invite them to a podcast, they're definitely showing up,
That's
right?
right, because you're providing value. I think I was listening to your episode you did, loved it with Kyle Rogers. He talked
Uh-huh.
about using his podcast to connect with people a few steps above him
Mhm.
to potentially do some sort of a cross promotion or a joint venture. Brilliant way to do it. The nice thing about a podcast, as you know, Chris, is that you can do so many different things with it. So just because I'm talking about this is a great way to connect directly with your ideal customer doesn't mean you can't do some episodes that are solo episodes by yourself to build up your own brand and your own credibility. Doesn't mean you can't interview the big wigs in the industry to make those connections. Can't mean it doesn't mean you can't interview people outside the industry that you just want to learn from. There's so much flexibility. You're now a mini media mogul. You've got your own platform that people are interested in being featured on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it. Again, like I love podcasting just because it is that ripple effect I love to create. And yeah, like you said, yeah, sure you'll make money from it as a byproduct, but I mean ultimately it's what at the end of the day do we do for people and how do we change their lives and that's what I love about this.
Well, I love it too. But my philosophy, Chris, is Most podcasters, myself for many, many years, didn't really figure out how to monetize their podcast. And that's why they fry out and burn out because it is a lot of
Mhm.
work. So we can help people to monetize it a lot faster, a lot more directly. Then we're providing massive value there because then we're turning it into a revenue generator for them and their company versus just kind of like a nice pastime.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, I appreciate you being on the show today, Dave.
I appreciate you having me. Thanks so much, Chris.
Yeah. Everybody go check out 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. I think I might have said 10 before, but I meant 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. Be sure to check that out today, especially if you're just looking for a way to have a platform, maybe something that can allow you to be able to have a bigger stage, bigger voice, or just better connections. Great book to check out today. So be sure to do that right now. But remember, guys, you can listen to these podcasts all day long. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter unless you go and do something about it. So go and out and make it a wonderful and prosperous week, and we'll see you later.